In 2020, I got really sick. My gallbladder almost ruptured. I had a minor stroke. Like, things were going bad. And I was in bed for a lot of the time. And I had always played fantasy football, but I got into my first industry tournament.
You being a movie critic, I have to ask you this to start this. Top 3 Christmas movies. Go. Holiday movies. We won't even say specifically Christmas. Just holiday in general movies.
Holiday in general. Let's get the good feels. Let's get the good vibes during the holidays. For a little snarkiness, I love Scrooged with Bill Murray. I'm not going to put him in order.
You know who's obsessed with that is Denny Carter.
Is he? Well, Denny is a very, very funny man. So I would get it.
Yeah.
That's a very that's Denny's Christmas movie. I get that. I like Christmas Vacation, and I got into a little argument last night with Paul Charchian about it, and he can, kick rocks. I don't know.
Wait,
I don't know what to tell you.
Is Charch not a Christmas Vacation guy?
He's anti-Christmas Vacation, and
how is that even possible?
I don't want to speak for him. All he said to me was he saw it 20 years ago. He didn't find it funny.
Wow.
Listen, when Randy Quaid walks up and just one finger hits the little windmill and it just collapses, it's comedy gold.
It is good.
God, and I need to pick one more. I'm not going to say Eyes Wide Shut. That's like Joey's Christmas movie. I annoy my wife every Christmas Eve. I watch it.
Pretty sure Denny has thrown that one out there too.
Yeah, it grows every year on me. No, listen, It's a Wonderful Life is rated one of the best Christmas movies for a reason. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it holds up. Don't watch it in color. Watch it in black and white. Yeah, I'll throw 3 classics out there for you.
Don't you have a cat named after Kevin McAllister?
I do.
And you didn't even name Home Alone there.
I know. I should have named Home Alone. You put me on the spot. You didn't say Joey.
I did.
Yeah.
That's the only on the spot question. I promise you.
That's fine.
But no, I mean, I figured you would throw Home Alone out there after naming a pet after Kevin McAllister.
Listen, I don't want to take credit for that. My incredible 7, she was 7 at the time. She's 9 now. We adopted the cat and we've got it in the car and its name was Simba. And I look in the rearview mirror and I was like, honey, hate to tell you that name's not going to work. We name our dogs and pets after real people type family.
Yes.
And she's like, what about Kevin? Like from Home Alone? Cause it's Christmas. And I was like, Kevin McAllister. Perfect. You're brilliant. So yeah,
Kevin is a fantastic name for a pet. We have a Henry, so we're in the same boat for human names. Henry's going to be 16 though in June. He's a little dog, so he's his time is limited, and we're trying to enjoy it as much as we can. But I'm with you with the human names for pets. It's more fun that way.
100%. We've had a Rob. We have a Betty. We have a Betty as a golden retriever.
Rob is pretty incredible.
It was Robert Loja was his full name. Yeah,
but just Rob is a pretty incredible name for a pet. Love it. All right. Well, this is your first time on Perspectives, and for the record, you're catching me on a bad week. My voice is horrible because I got this cold that my son gave me, and people are hearing me sound like I've been smoking cigarettes all day. That's not been the case. It has been me with this cold. So you're gonna have to carry a little bit on today's show, my man.
Okay. If I have to.
No pressure. But this is your first time on Perspectives.
Yeah.
Give everyone a glimpse of you and how you kind of got into this space and what you're up to.
Yeah, in 2020, I got really sick. My gallbladder almost ruptured. I had a minor stroke. Things were going bad, and I was in bed for a lot of the time. And I had always played fantasy football, but I got into my first industry tournament. I played in the Raz Bowl. It was my first thing I ever played in that was a toe dipping into the industry, and had a lot of fun with it. Almost won it. Epic collapse on the last night of the season. Even had Alvin Kamara with his 5 touchdown game. Just couldn't put it all together. I started every other play you can imagine being wrong. Had an epic meltdown. Brought my kids into it. And the crew over at Rasball was like, dude, you were hilarious all season. You were super fun. Have you ever thought about writing? And I'm like, well, I used to be a film critic. So they gave me their waiver wire column, year 1, sight unseen. I wrote some off-season articles for them. Had a really good time at Rasball. Have nothing but great things to say about them over there. Went to the Fantasy Football Expo and met 3 guys that have become like brothers to me in many ways. Simon Grunewald, JL Garofalo, and Josh Fuster over at Front Yard Fantasy. And those guys, slapped me in a chair, put me on a morning show, put me on a 3:00 game show every day to get my reps in there and to get me embedded in this industry. And I'm forever grateful to them. Still part of Front Yard Fantasy. I love those guys. Just went to Simon's wedding back in February, watched him marry Leanne, his beautiful wife. Love those guys to death. But at Front Yard Fantasy, I decided one day that I was going to go to a park and I was going to walk around and give fantasy advice, and created something that I didn't even know at the time with my best friend called Start, Sits, and Salutations. And it morphed into almost like a Steve Irwin type character that would go out into nature, talk to animals, and give fantasy advice. And had a lot of fun with that. Like super amount of fun.
By the way, the most Joey Wright thing of all time.
It really, I mean, it's kind of like blending SNL with fantasy advice with sketch comedy.
Yeah.
It was kind of all my interests merged into one. And JL was so great to just be like, Joey, blank canvas, do whatever you want with this. Like, this is your thing. And they were so great about, help me learn how to edit and all kinds of cool stuff when I was doing that with them. And then I had the bright idea, hey, I want to go to Expo and I want to do this live with people. And probably the best decision that we ever made because it put me in FaceTime with Joe Bryant. And if you want to see my job interview, it is filmed on camera because right then and there, I did an interview with Joe Bryant. And there was a lot of other ways that brought me into football, guys, where I'm at now. I'm the community ambassador there. Dave Kluge, Jeff Bell, Alfredo Brown, vouching for me to get me in with the company. But, I'll take a little bit of credit. Me interviewing Joe and just charming his pants off definitely helped me get a job there. But I've been with Front Yard. I've been with football guys now since, has it been the winter of 2022? Yeah, so it's been over 3 years now. I became the community ambassador pretty quick. I kind of put the analyst hat off to the side. I still put it on every now and then, but I pretty much just do all things community now over at Football Guys. Industry events. I'm at the Expo. I'll be going to FSGA probably again this year. I do March Madness contests. I bring a little bit of the character, the sketch comedy into the March Madness videos. I do a trivia night show on Tuesday nights where I host trivia with Jake Bryant. And probably the biggest thing I do to bring community together over there is I run the Football Guys Bowl. And this year we had 5,004 teams, up from just under 2,000 last year. Just a super big tournament of people just having fun, playing fantasy football. And that's kind of my journey. I kind of rambled for a while. I've told the story a couple times, but I think I hit everything I was supposed to.
Yeah,
give everyone the credit they needed to. Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the Football Guys Bowl, you invited me this year, and I was in it, and I'm in it, and your boy's in first place in my league. So,
dude,
yeah,
there is no question if I was colluding or if I was cheating at all, because I crapped the bed real quick this season.
Oh yeah, did you?
Really bad showing. I was so focused on everyone having a great time and just having the best tournament possible that I just did not draft a good team.
That's like, so we do on Living the Stream, we do a listener league every year, and we're drafting. We do a show. It's always me, Denny, and then Tom Everett Scott, the actor.
I got to meet him in September.
Oh, and I know, like, I'm one of the greatest humans you will ever.
So cool.
Yeah, one of the greatest dudes. Like I was on vacation in Wilmington, North Carolina for like a long weekend over the 4th of July a couple years ago, and he had been filming there. He just came to the beach and hung out with the family for the day, and we just hung out, like had a nice little time. Like, he's just the nicest dude on earth. He's awesome. But we do our Living the Stream listener league draft every year, and I'm hosting the show. I mean, it's an S show type of show. Like we're just kind of all over the place. And that's my excuse every year if and when I have a bad team, which is this year. It's my worst team that I drafted this year. And so that's my excuse, is that I'm doing these other things while I'm drafting. Okay. Like I can't solely focus on this team that I'm drafting. And that's why my team is not playing. So you can say that with the Football Guys Bowl. You had so much going on.
Oh, 100%. And I was running 2 live drafts at the same time that I was drafting.
Yeah.
So I was in Vegas drafting live. Like, I have all the excuses in the world.
Yes.
Yeah,
you should feel good. I have Jameer Gibbs and Devaughn Achane on my team, so it's been a fun time having.
Okay,
those two.
So you drafted well.
Yeah, it's been a pretty. I think I have Devontae Adams too. I mean, it's fine. It's fun little team.
Everybody cares about. This is what I've learned in the industry. Everyone cares about your fantasy team. Like, they do talk about it. Yeah. People love that.
So the next 45 minutes, we're gonna just talk about our teams. All right. Yeah, exactly. People love it. People love it. Talk to me though about this new show that you and Kevin are doing with the home league show. Like, what's that all about? What's sort of like the goal in doing that show?
Yeah, I actually do care about your fantasy team because I have a show that's based all about your home leagues. Man, I'll tell you, it was like 2.5 years ago. Kevin and I are walking through Vegas at an FSGA, and we were kind of doing that like when you're in high school and like two people are meeting and they're kind of like don't want to get into a relationship. They're kind of feeling each other out. We were trying to get into a relationship to do a show together at that time, and we weren't really sure what it was going to be, but Kevin's like, have you ever thought about doing anything with commissioning? And I'm like, I'm not sure. But Joe had mentioned that he wanted to have some type of a commissioner show. Mm-hmm. And then I had the bright idea one day that I was like, why don't we just inject community into it? And to this day, I'm mad that the title of the show is not CNC Fantasy Factory, because commissioner and community, I think it rolls so well, but it was voted against because nobody knows who CNC Music Factory is, but that's okay. But so the show is all about your home league, that league that you care the most about, that you're in with your 11 buddies that you met when you were 16 years old and you still play in together. Your buddies go off to war, but it still keeps you together. It's that lifeline of communication. Yeah. It's about that league. It's about how to make that league as great as humanly possible with fun things like commissioner punishments, last place punishments, championship celebrations. We just did an episode on how to best recognize your league commissioner and your league champion. It's all those types of things. And then we're going to bring community into it as well. So we're going to bring people like Scott Fish on to talk about the Scott Fish Bowl. And then to promote the Scott Fish Bowl, we're going to do a draft with them on stream. We're going to do a lot of cool things with this show, but it's all about how to make fantasy as fun as humanly possible. So that's what we're focusing on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the two of you are perfect for that, for sure. Just looking at the landscape of the fantasy football industry, I mean, Kevin's been somebody who has pushed, thanking commissioners, especially. I mean, he's been doing the contest, like the best commissioner. I can't remember what it was exactly called, but
I think we were both on that the board.
Right, on like the panel to choose who the best commissioners were, and it's a part of fantasy football that I feel like is not talked about. So you just drank that in such a sneaky way.
Well, because they're going to focus right in on you whole screen, right? So I could take a little.
No. It's all split the whole time, pal. They'll see that, just like they'll see that with my voice the way that it is. I got a giant jug that I'll probably have to swig out of to make sure that
that's a power move right there. I had this little tiny Starbucks cup, and then you bring up like a 94-ounce thermos.
Yeah, well sometimes I forget that I'm on a live stream and I bust it out and everyone's like, what's going on there? And I'm like, oh, right. I forgot. I got this giant, 120-ounce jug or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, like, I do feel like with the commissioner stuff, they're the unsung heroes of fantasy football. I'm a commissioner in a couple leagues and it's not nothing. Like it's work. And I really do appreciate whenever I'm in a league where the commissioner's on top of things and, cares about that experience and not just hey, I clicked this button to set up this league. Let's just go at it and have at it. Right. So it's awesome that you guys are doing that. Everyone should definitely check that out. I've checked out a little bit of it since you guys launched. How long you guys launched? Like 3 weeks ago ish? Yeah,
we launched. We got 4 episodes out now. Yeah. We're recording. I mean, the great thing about the show that we're doing together is the episodes we're making now, you're gonna be able to use in like 6 months from now when you're establishing your league. Right. It's a lot of it's kind of evergreen that we can kind of pop on whenever we want. So we'll be promoting it throughout the year.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's talk about what's going on in fantasy football right now. So it's been kind of a weird season. I keep telling people that, usually I look at the fantasy season in quarters in a way, the first month of the season, then the second month and so on. And I feel like there's, usually like a thread that kind of goes through each of those quarters. And you're like, okay, like this is the storyline of the season through all 4 quarters or all 3 quarters at this point, because we still have that final quarter left. And this year, it feels like things have been segmented a lot more, where like you get 4 weeks of Odunze and Emeka Egbuka just crushing it, right? And then they tail off, or you get, this player just going nuts or doing nothing and then kind of coming out of nowhere and starting to perform well. It's been a really weird year from that perspective. There hasn't been many I don't know. This is all feel based and definitely not researched or anything. But it feels like there haven't been as many like true league winning players this year. But from your perspective, what has sort of been one of the biggest surprises of this 2025 season?
It's this is going to sound funny, but the QB draft class of 2015, they decided to show back up this year. Jameis and Marcus Mariota, we thought, they're just going to be clipboard holders, mentors for these new great rookie quarterbacks coming in. And they've turned into kind of week winners for us when we've needed to. If you've been streaming quarterback, you've kind of been able to depend on these guys. Jameis for 1 week, but boy, was it a Jameis week. We got 2 passing touchdowns, a receiving touchdown, and then he ends the game on an interception.
Yeah.
Beautiful. But he was the QB1 that week. And a lot of people were starting Jameis. What was that?
I would say this is the most Jameis Winston game of all time.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I'm a Buccaneers fan. I didn't mention that during my 35-minute bio I did on myself. But Jameis Winston is the perfect quarterback to watch, but not have on your team. Because when he's on your team, oh boy.
Yeah. Just real team. Fantasy team. I love him on my fantasy team.
100%.
Yeah.
Mariota, though, 6 starts, and he's been a top 12 QB in 4 of them. Averaging 21.2 points any game he starts. Like, it's kind of crazy how these quarterbacks that we wouldn't really expect to be contributors kind of have been for us this year a little bit.
Yeah, that's a fun little surprise. That's a good call out. Do you think that next season we're going to see fantasy managers stream quarterback a little bit more, like go more towards late round quarterbacking? We have, like, look at this year. Josh Allen has been fine, but maybe a little bit subpar versus expectation. Lamar Jackson obviously has not been himself since that injury. Jaden Daniels has been banged up. Jalen Hurts has been like just fine. We're not looking at like true league winning type seasons from these guys, and that's how people were drafting them. Do you think that next year we're going to go back to more of that like 2015, 2016 time frame of drafting quarterbacks late, like no matter what?
I mean, it's been my bread and butter since really I started playing fantasy football. It was just not necessarily waiting till the double-digit round to take a quarterback, but just never reaching for a quarterback that wasn't a good value.
Yeah.
And this was kind of the first year that I was like, okay, well, I'm going to move up a little bit. I'll take Joe Burrow a little earlier than I would have. Boy, that shot me in the foot, but that was because of an injury. But no, I really hope we do get back to that. Anybody that streams quarterback or you wait late on quarterback, you're just increasing the odds of your team up top being a lot better. So you have better running backs. Right. You usually have a good tight end at that point if you're waiting on a quarterback. And I said, I hope we get to that point. I hope we don't, because I just want to keep doing it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, like the benefit to me, it's like we always see this like boomerang effect with ADP and the way that the market works, where it's 1 year, I always go back to, I think it was 2015 season when Devontae Freeman was the RB1 out of nowhere, like for no reason. And he wasn't scoring a ton of fantasy points. And then the very next year, and that was as the RB1. So running back was down scoring wise. The very next year, no one wants to draft running backs early. We see the ADP fall a little bit for the guys at the top of the position, but then it bounces back a little bit. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more late round quarterbacking, and then the guys who are, the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson tier, that grouping. I mean, maybe Drake May will be in there too. But those kinds of players are going in maybe a round or two later than they've gone over the last couple of years. And then that ends up being almost a value play itself, just because we know that this is just kind of a down year for them to some degree.
Yeah. Up until I think about 2 years ago, half of the top 12 quarterbacks came from as the QB 12 or later. Mm-hmm. In every single draft class, it was 50%. Yeah. And knowing that, like this year, you can think of Daniel Jones. I mean, Drake May was going around QB 12. I think he moved a little bit higher once draft season got closer. But Justin Herbert was going late. Matthew Stafford, who's like, I think the QB 6 right now, undrafted in a lot of leagues. I mean, you can find really good quarterbacks late, or you can just stream.
Yeah. It's making me feel a little nostalgic for what happened with me back in the day with the later on quarterback ebook and stuff. I dig it. Do you have any tips for playoff teams? So we're obviously, it's week 14 next week. No more teams on bye. Thank God. Get out of here with these week 14 bye weeks. By the way, I'm over this. Yeah, it's not fun.
The worst possible time. Like a lot of fantasy managers needing this win this week. I'm one of them in my home league. I need a win. We have 9 people competing for 5 spots.
Ooh,
it's going to be a grueling weekend for us.
I mean, but Yeah, but so look, we have these bye weeks, and then obviously the playoffs are hitting. Are you managing your teams? Like, how are you managing your teams differently now versus earlier in the season?
I mean, the general, if your running backs, don't kind of throw your depth away and kind of back them up. If you've got Kyron Williams, go out and get Blake Corum.
Yeah,
like that. If you've got Devaughn A-Chain, who I absolutely love his rest of season schedule, go get Ollie Gordon. Like, just back up your stud running backs. But if you're streaming any positions, look at those schedules ahead. I got a couple guys I like. Brock Purdy. If you're streaming quarterback, his schedule could not be better. Yeah. Chris Rodriguez, if he's on waiver wires, there's a lot of guys out there. Darren Waller's a tight end.
Yep.
Great streaming tight end down the run.
Do you often find yourself like rostering I got this question for the mailbag, but I talked about it on there. But do you find yourself, would you on a certain team roster 3 tight ends in a normal like 6-7 bench type situation and scenario? Are you going to roster 3 tight ends to make sure that your opponents can't get it or can't get one / you just can stream each and every week? Or are you still looking at just getting running back handcuffs first and foremost, because we obviously know they're going to have more upside than those tight ends?
I'll block to where it's not detrimental to my team.
Yeah.
So if I have an opponent, I notice their tight end's weak, I'll go pick up 1 tight end maybe, but I'm not going to do it if it's going to hurt my team. Usually though, and this is like a week 11, a week 10 thing I go make 1 big trade to really bolster my weakest position. So then I'm heading into the playoffs. Like Simon Grunewald has coined the phrase. I don't know if it was him, but I heard it from him first, the glass cannon. Like, go into the playoffs with a glass cannon, but at the same time, back it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'll block a little bit, but not to where it's going to hurt my team.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. We saw 2 pretty important and big backfield shifts this past week that I think is probably 2 of the top storylines in fantasy football right now. You have Carolina, where Chuba Hubbard started to see more work this past week, kind of the week before too. And then Travion Henderson, where Ramondre Stevenson stepped in and came back from injury in week 12. And then in week 13, he saw a little bit more work than he did against the Bengals. How do you feel about those backfields? Let's start with Carolina.
With Carolina, I mean, I don't think we should be surprised. We saw this from Canellis in Tampa Bay. It's kind of what he did with Rashad White. He gave him as much work as he could, but he likes using 2 running backs. And I think he's kind of got a best case scenario now on Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. Honestly, it reminds me, I know Canellis was 1 year removed from it, but a lot of Tampa Bay with Bucky and Rashad White, where you've got a running back in Chuba Hubbard that can really find spots out on the sideline and get up the field. And then you just got like a bowling ball and Rico Dowdle just hammered up the middle and breaking tackles. It kind of reminds me of what Tampa Bay had last year. I don't think we should be surprised. I think they're going to kind of run with a 50-50 split while the matchups say they can.
That's what I've been having discussions on the late round Discord since that game happened. And there are people asking like, who should I roster? Rico. Like, I still technically have Rico ahead of Chuba in my rest of season rankings. Do I feel 100% confident in that? No, I don't, because I think that it can go either direction. It could just be a game by game thing, and we're just kind of figuring out what these roles kind of look like. But regardless of all of that, would you, like, let's say that you're sitting there with Rico Dowdle, and let's say that you like Chuba Hubbard more. Okay, this is all hypothetical.
Okay.
So you have Rico Dowdle, and you like Chuba more. Would you straight up drop Rico Dowdle for Chuba Hubbard? Or is this a scenario where you're just going to roster both and you're going to see what happens, and you don't want your opponents to have access to one of these running backs?
Yeah, we talked about, safeguarding your team of blocking your opponent. This is a backfield I don't want to take that risk to drop one of them. Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. Like, it's kind of like the median outcome here seems like it's going to be 50-50, and they run the ball enough that they could both be like RB3 types. And then, maybe we'll get a spiked week in one of these weeks from one of these, whatever. Right. And whoever like finds the end zone in a given week. But it's one of those scenarios where like, I do think there's like a psychological component to fantasy, especially in the playoffs, where you don't want to be the reason. Like, even if you are sick of Lamar Jackson, you don't want Lamar Jackson anymore. You're like, this, he's dust, he's injured. If you were to drop Lamar, and then he has these 2 great matchups against New England and Cincinnati over the next couple of weeks after this Pittsburgh game, and if he were to go off and you're playing an opponent, or even if your opponent gets by because they get Lamar Jackson, you got to live with that all offseason. You got to live with that even longer than the offseason.
I always say don't get too cute. I watched a family member of mine swear up and down like they're going to bench Demaryius Thomas in the last week of the season. I'm going to play, and I forget who the backup for the Broncos was, but he picked up the backup, put them in, and Demaryius Thomas had a great game. Would have won him the championship. He did it in the championship week, and I remember telling him, like, I was the commissioner of the league, so there's only so much I could say, but I was just like, I don't know if I'd do it. Like, that's just a little too cute. I would never get too cute. You mentioned the second backfield, New England. Yeah. That's one I feel a little more confident in of how to play it.
How do you feel about it?
So I think with the matchup last week against the Giants, like that's where you want somebody like Ramondre Stevenson just to hammer that ball down the middle of the field. But in games where I think they're going to start trailing, not trailing, but needing to compete against Buffalo and Baltimore, I think that's where TreVeyon Henderson does come in, catches passes out of the backfield, off to the side. And I could see TreVeyon Henderson being a lot more valuable than Ramondre Stevenson the next for the playoff run.
I think I had I don't know if you saw or not, but New England fans have been in my mentions this week because I sent a tweet out that simply showed, it was the stuff that I talked about on the 10 Trends episode for anyone listening that was curious, but I just sent a tweet out that showed the advanced data on the ground of TreVeyon versus Ramondre Stevenson. I wasn't even, saying that this needs to be 80% TreVeyon Henderson's backfield or anything. I wasn't even talking about the volume split. Now, my argument is, yes, I think TreVeyon Henderson by the eye test and by numbers and analytics looks like the better running back between himself and Ramondre Stevenson. But I understand from a team and coaching perspective why they don't need to force the issue when they're playing the Giants and they have a 3-touchdown lead. Like that's not that big of a deal. But to your point, what happens in these games, and like you said, there's 2 of them in the final 3 weeks where it's not necessarily going to be this really easy, game script for them. And in those scenarios, I definitely could see them favoring TreVeyon more than Ramondre. The fact that it was still pretty much a 50-50 like ish type split with the 2 this past week is kind of a good sign.
Yeah, like if you're for the eye test, like it really did look like a 50-50 split last week. And it was honestly frustrating if you had Henderson. It maybe looked like Stevenson was running even more. But, I don't like to just look at the stats. But if you look at just the stats, Henderson really did have the better fantasy day.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's been you look at basically any advanced metric, and Henderson right now is lapping Stevenson. And a lot of people will come back and they'll say, oh, well, something like, EPA per rush, or obviously that's going to be skewed by Stevenson's fumbles, or something like rushing yards over expected per rush. Those will be skewed by 1 or 2 big plays. Okay, that's fine and fair. Like it's no different than like yards per carry in a way where it can be skewed that way. But that's why I look at it in conjunction with success rate being the percentage of rushes that gain positive EPA. And success rate should hypothetically favor a player like Ramondre Stevenson a little bit more if they're not going to be big play players, which Stevenson had his moments this year, like that Miami game earlier this year. Yeah. He was great in that game, right? But this hypothetically should favor a player if you're going to use that player as a coaching staff, right? You're going to throw Ramondre Stevenson out on the field. Why are you doing that? Well, you're doing that because he can take on a lot of carries. Like he can just handle the in between the tackle stuff. And, he might not break a big play, but he's at least solid in getting you what you need. Well, the argument here is that success rate wise, TreVeyon Henderson is way better than Ramondre Stevenson this year in success rate. I'm talking like 16 percentage points better or 14 or something like that. And so in that scenario, is he that much better? Like I said, I understand not giving the entire backfield to TreVeyon Henderson because he wasn't that guy at Ohio State. He's not really that guy, period, to handle, 19, 20 carries a game. But I do think it should be more in that like 60, 40, 65, 35 range, like we saw against Cincinnati more so than what we saw, against New York.
Well, I don't even really think we can be that surprised by either of the backfields we're talking about. I mean, both of the offensive coordinators like to have a committee. Yeah. Josh McDaniels, kind of made his gravy on it. So yeah,
it's true. It's true. All right. I want to talk about, I've been doing this on the show recently where I talk about a player and then we go one by one, this player versus this guy rest of season. And that player this week is Mr. Odunze, who pre-week 5 bye, looked like one of the league winners this year. Like 100%. I said, there haven't been many of them. He looked like one of them, right? Him and Emeka Egbuka both. And since that bye with Odunze, he has not been, he's averaging like fewer than 10 PPR points per game. He's been really not that reliable at all. There's many reasons for it. So we're going to go one by one.
Okay.
Rome Odunze versus player X, and I'll insert player X for you. We're going to start with Wan'Dale Robinson.
It's easy. Wan'Dale for me. He's leading the league in targets since week 9. Like
there you go.
He's getting the ball in his hands. And with Rome Odunze right now, like he's getting targets, but he's only catching 33% of his targets at this point. Now, how much of that's his fault, but still, right. I mean, the ball's got to get in his hands.
Yeah, I mean, like there's at some point you have to just succumb to the fact that situationally it's not working for Odunze. Now there's reasons for that. It's definitely not all him.
No.
But catchable target rate is a problem, and it's been a problem since around that, like honestly, like week 3. Harmon did some good work about Matt Harmon, that is about Odunze being asked to do a lot of motion work, and he's still a young and developing wide receiver, and so that's going to be difficult for him to do and perform. I definitely think that Wan'Dale is to the point now where at the very least you're getting predictable production, right? Like you're getting some, like, what you're getting out of Wan'Dale for the most part. And so I do think it's an interesting, this or that. Let's go to Deebo Samuel versus Rome Odunze.
It's going to be a common theme with Odunze. I'm not a huge fan of the rest of the season schedule for him. It's pretty brutal. It really is. 2 games against Green Bay. I'll lean Deebo because I like the schedule a little bit more for the Commanders, and his floor just feels a little safer at this point than Odunze does.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably Odunze, but I understand if this is not it's crazy that this is where it's at with Odunze. But you make a great point that like schedule wise, it's not like things look all butterflies and rainbows for Chicago right now.
And the thing with Chicago is their defense that's coming back, they're getting healthier.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're getting better. They're getting healthier is the better way to say it. But I think they've discovered they've got a really good run game, and they've got a really good 1-2 punch.
Yep.
So
yeah, that offensive line's playing so much better. I mean, Ben Johnson's doing what kind of people expected him to do with the run game. And the offensive, I mean, the last time we saw the offensive line just played out of their mind, against Philly. And this is their identity at this point, and that's not a good thing for the passing attack, and that's going to affect Odunze. How about Zay Flowers after his 0.4 point performance in PPR leagues this past?
It's probably the closest one that we've mentioned so far. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati are kind of 2 layups. If you're going to get right, these are the teams to get right against. This goes for Lamar too. So if you've got Lamar, if he doesn't get it done the next 2 weeks, sabotage drop him for that last week.
Yeah.
This is where I still probably go Odunze though.
Yeah, I mean, Zay is just it. I talked about him a lot in the preseason because I just have a general philosophy when you're drafting in that wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 range, that you want ceiling. Like you need to be. I mean, you should be chasing ceiling basically all the time throughout your draft. But realistically, like you're gonna miss in some of those ranges if you're just chasing ceiling, and if you're going for that kind of archetype of player. I would say like a Jameson Williams. Now we're recording this before Thursday night, but over the season up until this point, it's been hit or miss. It was really bad for the first half of the season. And so like that's an L, right? From a draft perspective. But also if you go with that philosophy and you go with that outlook, you're getting George Pickens, right? And you're getting that's one of the rare league winners this year. And so, it's and another guy that I want to talk about here with Odunze, I thought fell in a similar boat, which was Courtland Sutton, where yes, Sutton had a great second half of the season with Bo Nix last year, but also relatively touchdown dependent, and something that like we've never really seen Courtland Sutton across the season be consistently a wide receiver 2+, right? Like it's just every year he's very solid, but I want more than very solid if I'm going to draft a wide receiver in round 5 or something. So we'll just go to Sutton right now. Would you want Sutton or Odunze rest of season?
The thing I like about Sutton is he's on the field at almost every play, and that's great to have. I just think Franklin's getting a little bit more work lately. He's leading the team in targets. I'll go Odunze.
Yeah, I mean, Pat Bryant is getting run now too. In that Denver offense, who I think Pat Bryant's had a pretty being from a perception versus reality standpoint. I think Pat Bryant has actually had a pretty good season too. And yeah, Troy Franklin's been involved throughout the year. Suddenly just this roller coaster, man, week to week roller coaster with him. So I can understand going that direction. One that's kind of interesting to me is Jawan Jennings.
Yeah.
How would you feel about those two?
I'm actually slamming Jennings. I mentioned that I love Brock Purdy down the stretch. Yeah. I mean, Jennings has had touchdowns in 4 of the last 5 weeks. Brock Purdy's back, and Jennings is going to be a big part of that. So I'm going Jennings over Odunze.
You know, Jennings like a 21 to 26% target share basically over the last like month and a half each game. I mean, it seems to me, maybe it's injury related, maybe not, but it seems to me that he's at least jumped and like officially jumped, and we don't have to worry about the Ricky Pearsall stuff. Like, it just seems like Jawan Jennings is going to be, you know, the top targeted wide receiver for them. And the Brandon Ayuk thing, you know, that's now officially a non-story, you know. Crazy.
So many IR spots. Ayuk just waiting until
just not until 2026, and probably for a different team. Yeah. Pretty cool. And then the last one, we talked about his teammate, but Terry McLaurin coming off that big game last week.
It's really easy for me. If Terry McLaurin is active, yes, I'm starting him over Odunze. But that's my only gripe with Terry McLaurin is he going to play? Because he's been injured a lot this year.
Yeah. So I mean, he looked good this past week.
100%. So if he's there, I'm playing him.
Completely sunk me in a league, which was pretty cool. I was like, oh yeah, he'll probably give us like 11 PPR points. No, he's gonna double that and just completely ruin my playoff chances in that league. No big deal.
That's the best when someone just shows up for you more than you need them to. It's like, And then the next week they put up a 0. It's like,
exactly. So this isn't part of that wide receiver group, but I am curious about a couple of waiver wire guys this week and how you feel. First one's Adonai Mitchell. Since he's gotten to New York, 25, 26, 39% target shares. He's being used a lot. Do you think this breakout is real for him?
I think he can be trusted the rest of the season. I think next year is a different question, but if we're just concerned about this year, I think if Garrett Wilson does come back, I think that takes away from John Mechie. I don't think it's going to hurt Mitchell at all. So I'm fine starting him as like a low end wide receiver 3 rest of the season.
Yeah, especially as long as like Tyrod Taylor stays under center.
And that's the thing too, yeah.
That they don't mess around and they're like, okay, we got enough of. So this is also like something that's been going through my mind is people will ask like, well, why did the Browns start with Joe Flacco and not just go with one of their rookies because they weren't going to win anyway? Or why did the Jets go to Tyrod Taylor, instead of just playing Justin Fields, because obviously they're not going to make the playoffs, they're not going to make any noise. Why don't we get a good feel for that quarterback position? And the honest reason for that, for anyone who'd be curious, and this is what the Jets have said, and I'm assuming what the Browns were thinking too when they started the season, is you want the better quarterback play to be under center for your team so you can get a better read on what's going on outside of the quarterback position. Because if you have a completely inept quarterback that's not able to get the ball where it needs to go, you can't really evaluate the offensive line, the wide receivers very well. It's just not as easy to do that. And so if you have more competent play, you're able to do that. You just have to cross your finger. I don't, at this point today, I don't think the Jets are going to go back to Justin Fields, but that's definitely something that we should all keep in mind, is that like that's the reason that these teams do this with these veterans, even if they are totally out of it. Now, one team that went to their rookie after starting not really their veteran, but their other quarterback is New Orleans. Devaughn Vele then this past week, really big game for him. He's got a good matchup this week. Are you in or out on Devaughn Vele? I'm
more in on Vele than I am Mitchell, to be honest with you. I think it's safer. I think there's not a player that can really come in or that's on the roster that come back from an injury or that's on the roster now that could really bump Vele out of his spot. I think he's pretty solidified in that wide receiver 2 spot, and any attention Olave is going to get is just going to help him, especially against the Buccaneers, who I've said it 100 times. It's a Swiss cheese secondary. Just stay away from Winfield and you're fine.
How bizarre is it? I was talking to Denny about this on Living the Stream this week. Man, I brought up Denny like 8 times on today's show. He's a pal. Hey, Denny.
Oh, Denny, I'm seeing David Byrne tomorrow night. That's how Denny and I first connected, was talking.
Oh, there we go. But no, we were talking on Living the Stream, and I was like, isn't it bizarre that Tampa Bay has seemed to be this pass funnel for like 15 straight years? Like every year, they're a team that just teams are throwing on, and they're able to throw on, and their pass rate goes up against them, and there's more volume through the air against Tampa Bay. It's just the same thing every year, it feels like.
It happened in a Monday Night Football game the year after they won the Super Bowl for the first time, and Peyton Manning scored 23 points in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Ever since then, the Bucs have just like it's so frustrating because I've never tuned out of a Bucs game, even if they're up by like 3 scores, because I'm like, it's not over.
Yeah. That's not the easiest way to live, Joey.
It's not at all. And
you had a good window there though with Tom Brady. That was fun.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. I'm not like, listen, thank you for the Super Bowl, but could you have worn the creamsicle one time for me? It'd have been great to see it.
Yeah, that's true.
Didn't want to do it.
That's true. At least you weren't born and raised in Pittsburgh, and your team is just the most frustrating. I think the Steelers at this point might be the most frustrating team in the NFL.
I married into a Steelers family. So
that's right.
I have to go through it. Yeah. My wife's family's from Washington, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I know Washington. Yeah. No, there's a lot going on in Steeler Nation right now. Mike Tomlin might finally be his last year. We'll see.
3 coaches in the franchise's entire history.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I know.
You were born after like the real fun. You got 1 Super Bowl maybe? Is that about it?
No, I was born. So I didn't get any of the 70s Super Bowls, but we got.
I know that.
We had the two. We had the one with Cowher, right, in 2005, 2006.
Right. Okay, I forgot about Cowher.
And then we had and then there was the one that was when I was like peak Steeler fandom. It was like my identity because I was in my late teens, right? I was in college when they beat the Cardinals, right? And I was like 21 years old. And so, yeah, I mean, like that was amazing. And I'm glad that I got to experience it at that age because I don't think I know I wouldn't be as rabid today. I just don't live and die the way that I used to I don't really care at this point, if they end up losing.
Can I have 30 seconds for a story about that Super Bowl?
Yeah, I want to hear
I was at a party with my best friend at a sports bar, and we watched a girl when the Cardinals went up. She pulled a Cardinals jersey out and put it on. And I was like, okay, cool. She just got off work. She's a Cardinals fan. The Steelers go up. She takes the Cardinals jersey off, put a Steelers on. And I had maybe had more than one drink that I should have had.
Sure.
And I let her know how disrespectful that was as a fan.
Very disrespectful.
Yeah,
very disrespectful.
It was very bad. We still talk about it. Like, that was a jersey
that is definitely, yeah. I don't like that. I mean, look, I'm now, I'm a dad. I'm mature. I have responsibility, and I say, fans, do whatever you want, but don't do that. Don't do that. That's
I was 25. I was.
Exactly. Yeah, I would have been angry at that too.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Brian Thomas. This is a question I've got a lot this week. And, anytime someone asks, is this player droppable? The answer is always, who would you be dropping him for? Obviously. Right. Yeah. But in like a 12-team league, 6-person bench, you start 2 or 3 wide receivers. Is Brian Thomas droppable right now?
I don't have the courage to do it. He's benchable. He's You can bench him and feel good about benching him. I know I did last week in a few leagues. But I mean, this Jaguars team's starting to click. And we know what he can be. They've won 4 of the last 5 games. They're in the playoff hunt. It's hard for me not to see Trevor Lawrence turn to him at some point. Last year against the Colts, 225 yards and a touchdown in those 2 games. So, I mean, this could be the week he gets back on track. I can't drop him, but if you want to bench him and see what he does this week, and maybe they find that rapport again, go ahead. But I'm not going to drop him. I'll pick him up if somebody does, though.
Are you Jacoby Myers over Brian Thomas comfortably rest of season?
At this point, yes. Jacoby Myers is one of those really interesting situations where a player puts on another jersey and it feels right.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it's like Derrick Henry in a Ravens jersey. It just, the day that he put it on, I was like, yep, that's what you're supposed to wear. And Jacoby Myers just felt like a Jaguars wide receiver.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of there were some rumors that like the Steelers were going after him at the trade deadline and he chose Jacksonville. And I saw some people on social media being like, why would you choose Jacksonville? And why wouldn't you go to Pittsburgh? And it's like, well, I think that he probably chose right now, guys. I mean, it's probably the proper decision to make.
I mean, I was kind of poo-pooing on Liam Cohen I was a little salty because he left Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And, he had that really cringy press conference. But he's kind of putting it together there.
He is.
Since he's coming back playing good. And if I had to pick a team, I'm excited the Jaguars are going to be playing in Orlando in 2 years for their season while their stadium's getting renovated.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. That's not too far because I'm further from Jacksonville than I am from Orlando. Orlando's like 15 minutes up the road.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, Jakobi Meyers to me, I think that like if you want a really underrated, no one's valuing him as a starter in fantasy football type of player, that's kind of Jakobi Meyers right now. I mean, he's given us like 3 usable performances in a row. He's at at least a 20% target share in 3 straight games. He's getting good first read targets. He's like top 20-ish at wide receiver in first read targets over the last 3 weeks. Because that first game that he played with Jacksonville, he didn't play a normal snap count and stuff. And then also he's getting end zone targets. Like he's getting targeted, close to the end zone. So in the red zone. So I think that Jakobi Meyers is actually kind of an interesting player rest of season. All right. Any waiver wire players right now that you think could really help fantasy managers in the playoffs?
I'm going to run a little gauntlet of a list here. I mentioned Brock Purdy and Chris Rodriguez and Darren Waller. Definitely at quarterback, running back, tight end, pick those guys up. If you want to stream defenses, I don't hate grabbing the Giants and Houston and playing that in the playoffs. You can mix and match some good matchups there. But Devin Singletary for the Giants, we don't know what's going on with Tyrone Tracy. Really good schedule. Bam Knight, I don't think Trey Benson's coming back. And if he doesn't come back this week, they have to shut him down for the season, I believe. Yeah. So Bam Knight looks like the best running back there. Mitchell Tinsley and Yoshi Voss. If this concussion lingers with Higgins, I don't know if he practiced today or not. Last I saw, he did not. I do prefer Yoshi Voss over him, but this Bengals team, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to play spoiler.
Yeah.
And I need you to hear me out on this.
Okay.
If it's going to happen in Minnesota, it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. I'm not saying to start them.
Yeah.
I'm saying go out, pick up JJ McCarthy and Jordan Addison. See if it happens. We've seen JJ have one good game. I'm not saying it's going to, but this is like a get right time for him.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen, just drop him off. But their schedule is really good for quarterbacks and wide receivers. And it's really disappointing because I drafted a lot of JJ McCarthy looking at that end of season schedule and just picking him up as the season started. Because I'm like, man, that end of season is so juicy. And the Vikings, they were in the hunt last year. They're still not eliminated at this point. With caution, I would say if you've got the spots, pick them up. Because if they just figure it out, it could be league winning type material.
Yeah, I have my playoff schedule numbers that I share in the data dump that I do on Patreon each week with late round patrons, and I'm just staring at how the Vikings wide receivers, I mean even the running backs, but the wide receivers and quarterback both have the top schedule in the fantasy playoffs because they get Dallas, then the Giants, and then the Lions. I mean it is it doesn't get any better than that, and if JJ McCarthy were a competent quarterback, like if we felt good about it, we'd be talking Justin Jefferson would easily be a top 5 wide out rest of season. Jordan Addison would be a top 25, 30 wide receiver rest of season. And I mean, I've been talking about those guys and I made mistakes throughout the season and saying that they were buy candidates because of this stretch and because of their rest of season schedule. But I do think that it's one of those situations where, especially if you're in a deeper league, like I'm still not dropping Jordan Addison because of that. I don't want to give that up and allow someone else who might be weaker at wide receiver to pick them up and use them in these really great spots because there have been really bad quarterbacks that have performed well against those teams. I just don't want that to happen against me in the playoffs. So, as ugly as it is, I get it. I get it. All right. Now I want you to pick a league winner at each position that this could be someone out of nowhere. It could be someone obvious, but a guy in the final stretch of the season who could just win leagues for people at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end.
So I'll get tight end out of the way first, and I will be obvious about this one. And it's more of just like giving flowers to those people that thought Trey McBride was the better tight end pick over Brock Bowers. Trey McBride he gets Cincinnati in week 17, which is the best tight end matchup there is.
I mean, how many over under? Like, what do you think is over under PPR points going to be that week? Like 27.
I was psyched. You went higher than I was thinking 25.
Yeah, right. Like legitimately, because he's averaging like 23 with Jacoby Brissett. So like realistically, like that's a sincere outcome for Trey McBride in week 17.
Yeah, and at wide receiver, it's AJ Brown, and a few weeks ago, that sounded crazy. And
Yeah.
I went on another show in week 10 because I had made a really bad preseason position where I said Trevor Lawrence was going to be a league winner and got roasted really well for it. And they said, you need to do another hot take. Who's going to win leagues for people? And I said, AJ Brown, once he gets past his next matchup, which was Green Bay, I was like top 12 wide receiver. Since then, wide receiver 5 in targets, wide receiver 2 interceptions, wide receiver 8 in points per game. He's got a great schedule rest of the season. NFC is up for grabs. Eagles are going to be competing. I love AJ Brown rest of the season. Is going to be a league winner.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that people, it's really interesting because I was looking at the year over year numbers, and since week 1, AJ Brown, because he was banged up going into that game against Dallas, and I think he scored like 5.5 PPR points since week 1. Now it's been a roller coaster. Do not get me wrong. I know how I have AJ Brown. I know how frustrating it's been. He's only averaging, I think, like less than a point per game, less than he was averaging last year since week 1. And so, like, yes, his highs have been higher this year and his lows have been lower. But if they right the ship, and I think that yes, I think Kevin Patullo is a terrible offensive coordinator and they need to, do something more than what they're doing right now. I've been kind of railing against that all year, but I'm with you. Like, I think AJ Brown is not a bad player to have on your roster, just given the schedule and where they're at.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Running back. Let's hear it.
Achane. Like, he was drafted as like the 6th or 7th running back in leagues. He's second in the league in RB targets. He's kind of entered that conversation with Gibbs and McCaffrey. It's just like a really great dual threat running back. And with the matchups that Miami have down the stretch, I think it's going to be a great end of season for him. At quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Like, if you drafted him late, that means the rest of your team's probably looking pretty good. If you picked him up at the waiver wire, same type of situation. He's got top 12 wide receivers rest of the season. Schedule is not hard, but it's competitive, favorable. So I'm in on Stafford and Achane for sure.
I really wish that Matthew Stafford didn't have that back injury in this over the summer, because I was loaded up on Rams and then I got scared off a little bit. And then we're seeing this. It's the best season. I mean, he's an MVP candidate right now. So yeah, it's crazy.
I think with Adams, this is why it's good to like have people in your corner and have people to have your back as part of a team in this industry. Dave Kluge, who I know you love to death. I don't know to death. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, he's great. Great guy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Dave's the best. You said actually in the last episode, you did say you love Dave. So him and I are both really in on Adams, and we had him as I think Dave was a little bit higher. He had him at like wide receiver 9. I had him at wide receiver 11. Yeah. We were getting a lot of flack for it. And I don't like to like beat the drum too much for myself, but I stood firm with it. I'm just like, we've seen Adams do it on every team he goes to. And it's proven true. This is 4th team that he's doing this with. It's crazy.
His end zone target rates are absurd because he's just an extension of their run game at the goal line. And, 11 touchdowns over his last 6 games, just wild production from Devontae. All right, last thing, as I ask everybody on the show, give me a bold prediction for this upcoming week.
I'm going really bold. Like,
let's hear it. I'm bold. Fire. Yeah.
So on November 17th, 2024, Christian Watson had 150 receiving yards against Chicago and a career high. It was his career high in receiving yardage. On December 7th, 2025, he'll top that number, grab a pair of TDs, and be the number 1 wide receiver this week.
Christian Watson, wide receiver
Love him
1
this week.
Wow. Christian Watson, that's pretty bold. That's one of the
realistically, like, he's easily top 10 wide receiver.
See, this is the thing that people don't realize. When fantasy analysts say a bold thing like that, and they say this guy's going to be wide receiver 1, even if he does end up as like the wide receiver 9 on the week, that's still a pretty big W for us, right?
Exactly.
And so people know, right? But if he is the wide receiver 1, then it's just, I mean, I'm going to clip this and we'll send it everywhere, and you'll get your flowers for it. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we can put like some confetti coming down on me.
Yes. Some cool. Celebratory cheers and such. Yeah. Joey, this was great, man. I always love chatting with you. Always love seeing your pretty face. Let everyone know where they can find you, what you're working on, etc.
Yeah. I am over at Football Guys. You can find me on X or Twitter at the Joey Wright. We've got the Sunday morning start and sit show, Sunday morning live. We've got Trivia Night live on Tuesdays at 7:00 Eastern. With Jake Bryant, we're doing trivia. And then the Home League show every Monday around 4:00. We drop that. Just having a blast over at Football Guys. Can't believe that they let me do the stuff I do over there, but they seem to like me and keep me around. So
Yeah. And by the way, everybody, I know that I talk to people like Joey and I met each other at the expo, like IRL, and got to talk, and we see each other there now every year and get to have good conversation and stuff. But it's another example of, and like, I think that your story even shows this too, of like, just, I don't want to call it networking because that comes with like this like corporate vibe to it, which is not really what this is. But friendship building, like there's so much of that goes on at the expo every year. And if you show up, you'll get to meet Joey and me. We can chat. We'll have a good conversation. You don't have to be an analyst to be there. And you can see Joey wear some of the greatest outfits that any man owns. It's fantastic.
This year my dog got sick and I had to fly back home in an emergency and no one got to see what I had. I held it. Yeah. I told everyone, no, I don't have anything this year. I had something, absolutely. So I guess I'll have to save for next year. But yeah, I've done tracksuits. I've done all kinds of fun stuff. I had a romper with a fanny pack giving out Jolly Ranchers.
The romper was year one, I think, for me. And that's when I'm like, this guy is something special.
You didn't get to see the tracksuit, Joey?
I can't remember. Was tracksuit before Jolly Rancher?
No, Jolly Rancher was the first time that I met you. That is correct.
I think that's the case because I think you gave me a Jolly Rancher.
I did. I did not bring enough. I was surprised that at first people were creeped out, but then it was like, but it's Joey, so the Jolly Ranchers are probably fine.
Yeah, they're probably fine.
It became popular.
Yeah, but I wouldn't mind if you did the fanny pack thing every year with the Jolly Ranchers.
Hey, I'll have to make it a regular thing.
Just throwing that out there. Talk to your agents about it. But anyway, Joey, it's been great. Everyone, you can find my stuff over on lateround.com, of course. Make sure you're checking that out. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast feed, the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@lateroundff. Otherwise, everyone, thanks for tuning in.